For the record, state your name.
Please state your name, age, and where you are from.
Mike Collins. I am 49, and I was born in Cordova, Alaska.
So do you have any family in Cordova?
Yes. My family, yes. I have my wife and kids in Cordova, but yeah, my family is from Cordova, but they're pretty much gone now, except for my dad, but he's not here, but he's, yeah.
So,
short timer.
What is your occupation?
I don't know. I'm trying to think of what the right answer for that is. I'm an independent contractor. So, but I make money through aviation.
Pilot.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
How has Cordova changed from when you were younger?
The roads are paved. Most of the sidewalks are cement now, and they were board sidewalks when I was young. It's grown a lot. You know, the waterfront has grown. There wasn't, the landfills weren't there, and the harbor was different. And you know, a lot of things change. A lot of, you know, businesses change hands and so on and so forth. So, you know, small changes that you wouldn't really notice. But when I was younger, there was no internet or cell phones or GPSs or, you know, things like that. So life was a little different. There wasn't, you know, you didn't communicate through texts and phone calls all the time. If you wanted to make a phone call, you had to go find a cell phone or a pay phone or go home.
Yeah.
Or go to somebody's house or something. Yeah. What else has changed?
Was there TV when you were first here?
Oh, there was one. Well, yeah, but we didn't have TV. We didn't. I think part of, like when I was in high school and stuff, we had a TV and it was just one channel. Mm-hmm. You know, I don't even, you know, public television or whatever it was, Alaska News or, mm-hmm. You know, you could watch the news and watch shows, and then after the news they had things like Knight Rider.
Disney.
Yeah, I mean there was interesting TV shows. At least at the time, they're kind of dumb now.
Do you have a favorite place in Cordova? Or like around Cordova?
I have a lot of favorite places. I can't say that I have one specific favorite place, but I have a lot of places that I like. Probably one of the neatest places around Cordova would be Hook Point. It's a pretty neat place. But being an aviator, you know, I get to go everywhere, all over, all the time, and so it's hard to pick out one particular spot that's, you know, more special than another because it's all awesome. Yeah. You know,
in different ways.
Yeah, different places. Yeah, I like. For some reason, I like where my grandparents lived. You know, mm-hmm. That little island there on the lake. That's a pretty neat place that now is now is my responsibility, I guess. Mm-hmm. Yeah. My grandparents are gone, and my whole family that I grew up with is gone. So yeah, there's a lot of memories, but life is a lot different now than it was when I was growing up.
Could you tell us a little bit about flying? Like, when did you get into it?
I always wanted to fly airplanes from when I was, I mean, it was always part of my life. My grandfather was in aviation, my dad was in aviation, and I grew up. I knew how to fly an airplane before I could drive a car. So, I guess, I got my license when I was 17. But my airplane license. But I flew an airplane around quite a bit before I had a license. I learned how to fly at a pretty young age, and that's what I've done with my life as far as income. I've tried different things. I tried to go to work on the slope. Actually, I did work on the slope for 3 years, but I had to come back here and do this. My main the way that I make money with an airplane is through aerial survey work. I don't do air taxi type stuff. That's a whole completely different business and different laws and everything regarding that. So most of what I do is game surveys and fish surveys and things of that nature, more science-based type programs. I don't haul people around for hire. Okay, go ahead. What?
Have you had any scary airplane experiences?
Yeah, I've had a lot. When I was, I must have been, I think I was 7 years old, maybe 9 years old. I was flying with my grandparents, and we were going to visit someone, and I was sitting on my grandmother's lap on the front seat, and we crashed on landing, and that was a fairly shocking thing that happened in my life that affected me.
Did you get hurt? Did anybody get hurt?
No. Well, my grandmother, was minorly injured, but not seriously.
Mm-hmm.
But it was a miracle because it was a fairly bad plane crash that none of us should have survived, but we did.
What happened?
It was a fairly short runway, and the wind was blowing, and we caught a gust, and it took us to the ground before we actually got to the runway, and we hit the ground, and it ripped the landing gear off the airplane and flipped the airplane upside down.
Wow.
But it, throughout my career, there's very few pilots, inexperienced or experienced that don't have some kind of a horror story related to flying.
Mm-hmm.
And I've got more than you could count. But fortunately, I guess I've been fairly lucky.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But you learn through experience, and hopefully come out a safer pilot from traumatic experiences.
Mm-hmm.
I've personally never actually crashed an airplane that I was piloting, but I've had a few close calls.
So where have you traveled to outside of Cordova?
Not as many places as you. I've been all over the United States and through Canada, but I've never been to Europe or South America or anything like that.
I haven't been to South America either.
Costa Rica.
That's Central America,
Does that not count?
but I don't know which continent it's part of.
Yeah.
So what would you share about Cordova to somebody who's never been here?
Well, everybody knows it's Alaska's best kept secret. Well, for nobody that's been here, well, I would probably kind of recommend some activities that a person could do while they were here that would, that would be a Cordova type activity. But it depends on the time of year, obviously. What's because everything's seasonal here. There's certain things you can do at one time of the year that you can't do at another. If somebody's coming to visit in the winter, yeah, tell them to go out to Sheridan Glacier, and go ice skating. Summertime, you tell them where to catch a fish or see a moose or whatever, Go out on a boat.
So what has been one of your most extraordinary experiences?
I have a lot of them. One of the most recent ones is I helped a guy do the first Alaska wingsuit base jump, which is base jumping it's building antenna. What's S? Base. Building antenna structure or earth. So when you're jumping off, it's not the same as jumping out of an airplane. You're jumping from a part of the earth, right? So this guy that actually grew up in Cordova got into wingsuit, squirrel suit type flying, and his dream was to do the first base wingsuit jump in Alaska. And because he knew I was a pilot, he contacted me to see if I knew a place where this might be possible. And I did have some ideas, so I went and did some scouting and sent the guy a bunch of pictures and stuff and tried to figure out where this could happen. And met the guy and his girlfriend on the 4th of July at our place at Long Lake and flew them back into the mountains and landed and hiked to this vertical cliff, this vertical face that had a 1,000-foot vertical drop with a 3,000-foot valley below, and helped the guy put on his suit and scope out the jump zone that base jumpers call it, where you jump from. It's called an exit. And so we located this exit and went down there, and he put his suit on and we videoed it, and he jumped off. And it was incredible. It was one of the most amazing things that I've ever experienced. Just watching this guy do this thing. And since then, we did one in Prince William Sound over at.
Jesse went on the flight with you.
Yeah, right. Yeah, he actually did complete that jump over there in Neliwan.
Did we?
Yeah.
Did we see that one? I think I was with you.
I wonder if
that was the
I don't
first
know
time
if I
we
have
went
that. I don't know if I put that on YouTube, but I have it. I did.
John
I did
has
make
it
a
on
film
his
of it.
Facebook. John, the jumper, has it on his Facebook.
Price, not John Verb.
But John also jumped out, I thought.
John jumped out of the airplane, and he did a. He did a
That's the
base
one.
jump, not a wingsuit base jump, which is slightly different. A base jump is when you jump with a parachute and just jump off and deploy your parachute. A wingsuit base jump is when you jump off and fly your wingsuit till you get to where you're going to land, and then you deploy your parachute to land. Because you.
That sounds terrifying.
And that was Price?
Bryce Brown, yeah, helped him do that. Yeah, Evelyn and Jim Brown's son.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember him as a little kid.
He's a very accomplished extreme sport nut.
Didn't he also recently get his pilot's license
yeah, he's actually flying commercial airlines now. But what else interesting? Oh, um, one of the accomplishments that I did in my life was. Are we running out of time?
No.
I had this dream with a friend of mine that we were going to do a jet boat sightseeing business on the Upper Copper, and so we at the time, and it was 1997. There wasn't much of a fishing industry because the price for fish was nothing, and we were still recovering from the oil spill. And so instead of going fishing that summer, we purchased a really outrageous jet boat, an aluminum jet boat with a high horsepower motor. And we took that jet boat from mile 27 and ran it up the Copper, and then we ran it up the Chittenden River, which runs into the Copper, and then we ran up the Nazina River, which runs into the Chittenden River. Then we ran up the Kennecott River all the way to McCarthy.
Oh my gosh.
And so we
That's
ran
raging up there.
Yeah, so we ran a jet boat from
Jeez.
mile 27 to McCarthy and attempted to run a sightseeing business out of McCarthy. But the river was too radical, and it was more dangerous than it was fun. Because it was big whitewater and swift
Yeah.
moving,
Oh my gosh.
swift moving current, and
And you were able to take that jet boat up it.
we were, yeah, it was a very high performance jet boat,
Jeez.
and no one's ever done that since, from
No.
mile 27 to McCarthy. And so we set up a business there in McCarthy, just put our sign out by the road. This is back in
You still
97
have
when you
that
didn't
sign,
have to
right?
have
In 97.
97. We had a special use permit from the Park Service, but there was a rafting company there, and they didn't like us because we were the motorheads and we made lots of noise. But yeah, we had a lot of fun running up and down through this canyon called the Nazina Canyon, which is a snaky part of the river with vertical 500 feet walls going through a cliffy area. And we did take some people through there, but most people ended up more.
Is that where the bridge goes over, or does it? No.
There's no bridge over that.
That's part of it.
No. At the time, there was no bridge in McCarthy. It was just a tram.
Yeah.
And so yeah, so we did that, but then we realized after we did some damage to the boat that it was too crazy. So we took the boat and ran it over by Glen Allen to the Taslina River, and we set up we put up a camp there and put our sign by the road: jet boat thrill rides, and pipeline crossing viewings and fish wheel viewing. And so we finished out the summer there, and we took tourists around and showed them the Copper River and the fish wheels and the pipeline, and took them on crazy, jet boat rides.
Yeah.
And it was an amazing summer. We had a great time. Because I had an airplane, we were able to scout the rivers ahead of time and stash fuel and do things like that, so that we knew what we were getting into. You wouldn't blindly go into a whitewater canyon without looking at it. And so that's why we were able to do it, is because we had an airplane that we could do aerial reconnaissance and support the cause. But that was one of the funnest summers of my life, running around the Copper River Basin with a jet boat.
Did you have to have a license for that to take people out? Or?
Yeah, we had a 6-pack Coast Guard 6-pack license. Yeah. We had at one point we had a busload of blind people that wanted to go for a thrill ride. Hang on, let me get rid of this. Hey, can I call you back? Are you at home? Okay, I'm just doing this interview. What's going on? Okay, bye. Okay, all right,
She's awake.
bye. That was Grace. Sorry.
Okay.
So that was a extraordinary event or time in my life.
That's
Doing
incredible.
that.
97.
1997. Yeah,
How old were you?
I was 27. Wasn't I? Yeah, I was born 1970.
Supposedly your
Yeah.
brain was fully formed by then.
No, my brain was but
They
me
say
and
by 25, boys.
I did it with Royce O'Brien, and I don't know if either one of us were really thinking straight,
Does sound like fun.
but it was very
Oh
fun.
my gosh, yeah.
Yeah.
Dane should have heard of that.
Or Dane.
So do you have a favorite experience?
A favorite
Besides that.
experience.
Difference between extraordinary and
Favorite experience. Yeah. I guess. Yeah, I enjoy Dall sheep hunting. I do that every year usually. Okay.
What decision do you believe has had the most impact on your life, and what do you think your life would look like if you had not made that decision the way you did?
To stay here. The decision to stay here in Cordova and not leave. I guess that kind of has shaped my life because my life would have been different had I lived somewhere else, which I tried for a few years. We lived in Big Lake for 6 years, but then we moved back.
Okay, I'm not.
It's a pretty painless interview, don't worry.
I'm not saying you're old, but we've asked everybody this question. How does the word old make you feel?
Somewhat sad because I don't want to be old. I want to keep going,
Well, I don't think you're quite in the old
I'm
category.
not.
yet.
I don't know. I don't really qualify as old.
I think you're the youngest person.
You definitely are, by far.
Yeah.
Actually,
I think, I don't know.
Not
Miss
by far.
Adams, not Miss Adams was.
How old is she?
She was my high school
Yeah.
teacher,
Yeah.
so she still got some on me.
Yeah.
She's got some.
I'm probably the youngest person that you're interviewing.
Yeah.
Mhm.
1970.
So, 2 more questions. Do you feel the need for a better connection between the youth of Cordova and the older generation? And if so, what do you feel we should do to bridge the gap?
I don't know. I feel like it might be different for you since you have children who are in school. So
But you
you
don't.
might have a
You
different
also
answer.
have had parents here.
I think that's more up to the
Parents.
kids than it is the parents. Most parents want to be involved in, in the kid's life and stuff, but they're not always welcome.
Gosh, Faith.
She missed that one.
I heard it. I don't always welcome him. or something like that.
Especially if I show up late.
Well, that's the debt. That's the punishment. There are consequences for your actions.
I was kiting.
well.
Okay, so
So that is one of the funnest
He was
things that I've
outside
done, though, is
enjoying
kiting.
weather, I get it.
Is what? Kiting?
Learning how to
Kiting.
kite
That's
and
what
doing
I know, I saw him.
doing kiting.
He just forgot me.
He was
I didn't
here on
realize she
time.
wasn't here.
Yeah.
I did show up at 5, but
Yeah, he was here.
part of my program wasn't.
It somehow took us half an hour.
For some reason, I thought that she was gonna be here.
Okay, I'm gonna stop the video.
Okay.